So let's get started. First of all, quick presentation. So Richard Knubben is the Secretary General of Leaseurope. Solenne Lepage is the Secretary General of ASF, which is the Association of, S stand for? Sociétés Financières, okay, of a financial institution or financial companies in France, obviously. And then we have Enrico Giancoli. Today, Enrico, he's a manager of a leasing company in Italy, but today he's here representing Assilea. And also Leaseurope, as Enrico is a board member of Leaseurope, representing Italy or Assilea. So I think it's great to have you here because I think it's pretty clear that in general the biggest challenges we have as a leasing company are to be played out, I would say, at the European level. You cannot think to solve issues on a local level or an Italian level. You have to think at European level. So today to have Leaseurope with us and also ASF with us is a wonderful chance to exactly to discuss of the future of leasing over the next years at European level. So I would start with Richard asking what is the state of art of leasing market in Europe, which are the main figures and also features of this market? Yeah, it works.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for inviting me. Do you want me to show the slides?
Yeah, there are a few slides, if it's possible to put it on the screen. Yes, here we go.
Yes, so you can go to the next slide.
La prossima, per favore. Grazie.
Yeah, I'll be very brief about this. So the slides that I'll present now is what we presented in Cascais as well. It's the total 2024 overview, including data on the rest of the world. I understand you yesterday already showed Italian market data for 2025, which is better than what I will show for 2024, but hey.
Unfortunately, it was not a good year.
I mean, as a general rule, leasing has been doing better everywhere in the world. Europe's growth rate is okay, but of course we've seen a lot better than in previous years. However, the recovery post-corona has continued. What's more interesting is if you look into the details. If you can go to the next slide. What is very interesting is that I would say even for the last 10 years, the automotive segment in the total European portfolio has never stopped increasing. So even if we have a bad year, it looks like LCV, passenger car, heavy-duty vehicle financing just keeps on becoming a bigger bigger share of the pie. I remember when I started in 2008 at Leaseurope, automotive financing was something like 46%, and now we are already at 75% of the total European pie. So that's pretty significant. Some of the other segments, in particular machinery and agricultural equipment, they've had a little bit of a negative turn. However, that seems to be picking up again in 2025. If you can go to the next slide. So yeah, so here you basically see the base evolution of the different categories. These are the growth rates and how they've developed vis-a-vis each other. If you go to the next slide. This shows the evolution of the top 10 leasing markets as we have them reported within Leaseurope, where of course in 2024 Germany and Italy were having a negative growth when it comes to new business, but I understand you have corrected that already in the first half of 2025. What is probably the most important point to make is, yes, new business volumes have grown in value across the board, pretty much. Profitability in various sectors has increased as well. But if you look behind the numbers, in many markets, the amount of contracts signed has actually decreased. So some of those contracts are more profitable add-on products, insurances, whatever. But we can't go around the fact that a lot of the growth is really inflation. I mean, if you look at the vehicle segment, for example, compared to 2022, the average car is at least 25–30% more expensive. The same goes for machinery, 20–30–40% increases in prices. So it looks good, but we have to be realistic that a lot of the growth is effectively just higher price per asset and not necessarily a whole new segment of new customers.
Yeah, I think Europe is probably for the very first time is the main, in terms of volume of new leasing stipulated, is becoming the biggest area in the world, overcoming US probably, or not yet.
Yes. But you had in your previous panel also a discussion on the regulatory framework. It would seem that our American friends have decided to just not regulate, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I would expect the US growth to overtake Europe substantially in the coming years.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. This is just to set the stage and to see the numbers, the main figures, and to have an idea of the size and the features of the leasing market. Then I will go to Solenne and asking you what is your viewpoint and idea about the main benefits of leasing as a tool. Obviously, you have straight experience of your market, the French market, but also you have a view about the European markets. I think it's one of the preferred tools, particularly for SMEs. So what's your viewpoint on this?
Yes, thank you very much, Luca. Hello, everybody, and I would like first to thank you warmly, Luca, for inviting me today. It's a great pleasure and honor to participate to this outstanding event. And so, yes, a few words perhaps to present ASF very rapidly and the amounts that at stake in leasing in France. So we do represent the financial lease actors, players in France. This is about 100 members. 2/3 from them are equipment leasing companies, and 1/3 is real estate leasing companies, and very few are also active in very specific green and sustainable project development sectors. So all these French actors are regulated and supervised, and part of them are credit institutions, and the others are Sociétés Financières, this French legal status, but it's regulated in equivalence with CRR. So the production of our members amounts to 38 billion euros in 2024 as regards corporate solution to corporates, and especially SMEs. I will revert to this important consideration. And if we also consider leasing solutions to households, it is an additional 15 billion euros, which is a total from our members at 53 billion euros last year. So yes, Luca, to answer your question, we see that a leasing solution as really a very appropriate tool, investment tool for corporates and especially for SMEs. This can be seen in a few figures. I do not want to give too much figures, but for example, in the penetration rate into Leaseurope makes figures on that. An average in Europe, it's 28%, and for France is 36%, and it's a very preponderant issue tool among SMEs, especially. And so we have also a last figure, which is a part of equipment by corporates for manufactured goods in France, thus represented by our members, around 24% as a percentage of GDP. So we see that leasing is definitely a major instrument for financing investments by corporates. So why? Why? This rate depends on sectors. For example, as regards industry, it's very high. Up to 90% of industry corporates use leasing. But this is lower in agricultural sector. Perhaps it's cultural, but it's growing steadily. And I think that corporates become more and more aware of the benefits of the leasing, which are there. This is very flexible. This allows to adapt to the evolutions very rapidly to the evolutions of the technology and to be able to have the up-to-date technologies and tools and equipment. It's also very interesting in terms of fiscal benefits, because as you know, you have higher depreciation facilities when you use a lease instrument. And also it's very interesting in terms of cash consumptions, because of course you can avoid consuming cash because the ownership of the asset is by the lessor. All benefits that are very well known from you, of course, but we see that more and more companies, and especially SMEs, become aware and convinced of these qualities. And so I think that this is very, very positive. And I would just add one point, that when we liaise with public authorities, national or European, and your testimonies yesterday with your president, but also with ministers, we have also this impression with national French authorities that leasing is a very convincing subject. When you explain how it does function, what are these qualities, these benefits for the corporates, they are always very much interested, and we think this is really an opportunity for us at this moment, and we see also other applications later to unlock the potential of this tool.
Yes, thank you very much. I think, there are a lot of benefits for SMEs. It's a very flexible and adapting tool for financing investment, definitely. I think personally also there is a high, I would say, retention factor when an SME does a leasing transaction. Then when the transaction is over, typically, if the client experienced a good relationship during the transaction, then he's making a new transaction, and it's easy to create a real good relationship with the customer, and then to keep the client, keep the customers going ahead. It's going forward. It's very quite an effective tool for this. Now I go to Enrico. A different topic. The topic is the eligibility of leasing in Europe with regarding EU fundings or EU in general subsidy measures. So I think not always we have leasing included into this program at a European level, and that means that we don't have the full possibility for customers, for SMEs, to use leasing when this funding or these subsidies from Europe comes to Italy. So if you can give us your viewpoints on this topic, so how important is this problem, I mean, to solve this problem?
Okay, thanks Luca, and good morning to everybody. So this is a key question, because it's a paradox, no? As we have seen yesterday in a slide that I think the President showed yesterday, the 50% of the SME consider leasing the best financial solution for their investment. No? So it's a big number because it's the most financial instrument important for all the SME. So we have to consider it, and even the regulator have to consider it. At the same time, but not only in European law, but even in national law, there are a lot of aid fund that is not possible to link with the leasing because there are some critical points that we have to overcome. And straight to my opinion, the law that is promoted in Europe don't have to change our leasing, our business model. They have to permit that leasing can fully participate to the transformation, digital transformation, and we listened Mr. Pierce for a few minutes ago, can participate to digital and green transformation. If we don't try to overcome some point, some critical points, some rules, and to converge leasing company, leasing industry, and the regulator to some solution in the same direction, I think that it's not only the problem of leasing industry, it's a problem because we can transmit exactly to SME all the fund and all the opportunity that they need to promote their transformation. I think that we should speak even about the change, no? That is going faster than the agility of the organization, like the leasing company, to adopt this kind of change. In SME situation, they need to have access to all the instruments to transform digital and green situation that they have now. I don't want to repeat all the particular benefit that leasing can grant to the SME, but I want to add another one. We personalize a lot our contract to the customer need from the beginning. When Mr. De Felice said before, why don't we make an assessment? We have to do it every time. We have to check the business plan. We have to check the reason why they want to access to this investment. So we have to see at the future, not only at the past. So it's difficult, but we do it now, and we have to do even in the future because we have to be an active agent of change for our SME and to permit them to access to all the digital transformation, green transformation, energy transformation, whatever. And to do it, we have to find some solution. And in this sense, the work that Leaseurope and Assilea are doing now, it's very important because they are not speaking only. They are bringing data, assessment, experience, concrete thing to promote that all the difference that they see. And I can even speak about the differences from the leasing contract and what is included in the European fund. But it's technical. It's something that we can find a solution if we want to go both go on the right direction. So I think that we have continued in this way, not only with advocacy, but with data, with analysis, with studies, to demonstrate that that our product has a lower risk, lower loss, and that can be a partner, an industrial partner in this change for our SME.
Thank you, Enrico. I'm curious to get also a quick comment on exactly this topic of eligibility of leasing in the EU funding programs. also from you, Richard, and then also from Solenne, because to understand, my understanding is that also for French market, this is also important topic.
Yes, so we've been working on this topic for some years now. I mean, the problem is in a way that the subsidy programs are designed nationally. And it happens on and off, indeed, that if a company buys the asset, it's eligible to a subsidy. If it's for a lease, then it's not eligible for a subsidy. That happens in various markets. What we're trying to do now, and we have on the 4th of November, we have a high-level meeting at the Commission on this, is that as a matter of principle for new European legislation, whenever it involves the acquisition of an asset, that next to loan, it's also mentioned leasing and rental, that they're included. So that at least at European level, we give this indication that it doesn't matter how it's financed, if it's a loan or it's a lease, you should be able to get whatever subsidy or whatever support program there is. Now, in addition, there are various other discussions on pan-European support programs, but we have a bit of a money issue, so I'm not sure how that will work. But at least what we're trying to do is to support you through changes at European legislation level, that it will make it easier to then argue at Italian level, hey, this is what the European text says, so you should enable this for leasing as well. Okay, and Solenne, also a comment from you, a quick comment.
Yes, exactly, because we have exactly the same issue in France, completely similar. And we are also very active at this moment also with Leaseurope on also a discussion regarding the global block exemption regulation, which is in fact the top regulation defining the rules for state aids for subsidizing and in the EU. And typically, at this stage, the proposal contains a provision precising obligation to purchase, which is typically, by essence, contradictory with our product, which rely on an option to purchase. So we see that we definitely have a challenge on this question to in order to make awareness rise on the fact that option is not contradictory with investment, because Commission needs to tick the box investment and not operating expenses. But we explained that, yes, we can have investment with option to purchase.
Yeah, the same in Italy, exactly the same. So now we move forward to another big topic, which is transformation of automotive sector and how this is also reflecting on the leasing industry in Europe. And I come back to Richard to ask you, how will this transformation process, also the change in the political view on this industry, the automotive industry, will affect the leasing industry in Europe? Can you see some danger coming from this big transformation and also the activity that the European Commission is doing?
Sure. So I'm going to try and recap what's happened over the last 3 years very, very quickly. I mean, in a way, we've sort of fallen a little bit victim to our own success. I mean, I would say 10 years ago, basically nobody in Brussels knew what leasing was. Now, we're more or less at most of the tables with commissioners. The European automotive industry finds itself at the crossroad. I think everybody's seen this in the news. I mean, we have major manufacturers on the verge of collapse, or at least parts of their divisions on the verge of collapse. And the electrification across Europe hasn't, I mean, it's ongoing, and leasing companies are actually the main purchasers of EVs. But by and large, European citizens are not buying enough of these cars. We can't manufacture enough. We have lots of geopolitical issues. Anyway, it's a major problem. So what the von der Leyen Commission has come up with is something called the Greening of Corporate Fleets Initiative, which will be a regulation and will either be released on the 16th of December or beginning of January. This regulation will say that any corporate registration, so that's a lease, rental, but also an outright purchase for any company, would have to be in line with preset percentages, going probably towards 100% in 2030. So it would effectively mean that as a corporation or a leasing company or whatever, by 2030 you would only be able to buy EVs. They're still arguing whether it's set nationally with a minimum threshold or an across-the-board target, but that's subject to negotiation. And they've linked it to the CO2 regulation, and this is very important. So the CO2 regulation is the thing that says by 2035 we shall stop to build combustion engines. It's also the thing that says by 2030 the overall CO2 emission level of the fleet sold in Europe has to be reduced by 60%, etc., etc. Now, the way the von der Leyen Commission has envisaged this is one is the backstop to the other. So, the car manufacturers, they want more, well, basically they want more space for powertrains, for plug-in hybrids, etc. So they would like to change the CO2 regulation to be able to build different kinds of models, different kinds of powertrains. Commission doesn't really want that, so the way they've foreseen it is, okay, we will give them something on the CO2 regulation, but you'll still have demand criteria anyway through corporate fleets. Or vice versa, if the corporate fleets is watered down too much, they won't give much on the CO2 regulation, so one is the backstop to the other. This is a very big problem. The interesting thing is the von der Leyen Commission has made it its personal mission to push this through. And we have a majority of member states against. I mean, the German Chancellor made specific comments on it. The Italian government has been very vocal. The Czechs, the Slovaks, the Finns. I mean, we have a majority in the Council against. We have a majority in the European Parliament against. And yet, they're going full speed ahead. So this is, for us, one of the key, well, I would say absolute priority files, because the impact on the prudential treatment of leasing companies would be massive. I mean, the ECB considers a lot of these battery electric vehicles high-risk assets for a simple reason that their depreciation is spectacular. So this is an existential threat to our industry. And in addition to that, it's not just about cars, actually. I mean, yes, the discussion right now is about cars because policymakers have decided leasing companies buy a lot of cars, so why don't we force them to only buy X, Y, Z, and problem solved. Once we establish a legal principle that we can do it for cars, then next year we can do it for heat pumps or for hybrid tractors or any kind of other asset. So the threat goes beyond the mobility discussion.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also in Italy, as Assilea, there is a clear commitment to act, exactly contrasting this initiative. And I think also yesterday in the message that Mr. Fitto sent to the Salone del Leasing, there was an indication about the greening corporate fleet. He said, I know that this is one of your priority as a leasing industry, the green corporate fleet. So maybe, or I do hope that there will be a chance to discuss again with Mr. Fitto this topic, as he is also coordinating the transportation system, or the transportation commissioner probably in the European Commission. Okay, then I go now to Solenne again. I'm changing the topic, so one big topic is automotive. Then second big issue or topic or opportunity maybe, it's the CRR3 evolution or CRR3 adoption, full adoption of this capital regulation, requirement regulation. And I just wanted to ask you, in your view, how will be the impact of this regulation, or how could be impacting the leasing industry overall across Europe?
Yes, typically, this is another illustration of the need of a complete recognition of what leasing is. And just as a reminder, because of course this is well known to you, but the current prudential treatment, let's remind that the current prudential treatment of leasing under CRR is not satisfactory, because under the standard approach, the risk on the leasing exposure is treated as a traditional credit loan, and under the internal model, of course, yes, there is a transitional adjustment as to date which is admitted, but per definition, transitional is a temporary basis. So with CRR3, a very important step was made by the European Commission, which has paved the way for a more favorable treatment of leasing exposure. This is, of course, a tremendous challenge for reducing capital consumption on leasing exposure. So the good point is that the European Commission is convinced of the fact that risk profile for leasing is lower, but asks a demonstration with figures. And this is why the EBA has been mandated to draft a report by July 2027, at the latest, on an appropriate risk weighting of leasing exposures in both internal approach, internal model, and standard approach. And so we are definitely at a very crucial moment, since the EBA will launch a data collection in January to check, to verify with proofs that defaults and losses on leasing exposure are lower than those on classic traditional loans. So what we could expect, we think that a 10 to 20% reduction in the risk weighting of leasing exposure is possible, both under the standard approach and the IRB approach. But now, of course, the data collection will be determining. And so, it will, as I said, it will begin in next January. For the main banking groups, it will be at the same time as the annual quantitative impact study. So banking groups will have to complete it carefully also for leasing exposures. But at the same time, EBA welcomes every regulated actor involved also to put in his contribution, his data contribution. So yes, this could be a game changer. We expect it to be a game changer. This is, as to date, already more than 10 years of discussion with European public authorities. So let's mobilize collectively on this data collection, and let's cross the fingers to achieve this as we wish.
Yes, I think we united stand for this initiative. It's very important, I think, that the local leasing association are supporting strongly what Leaseurope is doing at the European level in this data collection process.
This is monitored by the Prudential Committee of Leaseurope,
yes,
which is chaired by Yves-Marie Legrand.
Yes.
So thank you for your contributions in data collection.
Okay. Then let's still stay on this topic of CRR3, but I would ask Enrico to be more specific and more focused on real estate leasing business, which is very important for Italy. I think it's also important for France and other markets. I have in mind also Austrian markets. It's another market where real estate transactions is pretty convenient for companies to do, and they do actually. So which is, why is it so important, the CRR3 process of adoption for real estate business?
Okay, first of all, the more prudent approach with the CRR3 is not a bad news for us. in general, because it permits that this new transparency and new stability that they provoke in our market can be translated in bankable contract, more liquid sector, so that we can finance easier at a lower cost. But at the same time, we have to overcome another problem, that they didn't understand real estate leasing, because it's not a speculative form of financing, it's not a passive form of financing. We finance directly productivity good. Our real estate needs to our enterprise to produce good. It's something completely in the process. It's not out of the process. So they have to understand that in general, and I repeat, big work of Leaseurope, that we have lower risk and lower loss. In particular, if we compare leasing with other financing product. This is one point. The other point is that they have not to make a confusion. For this reason, I said in my previous answer that one point is that all the actors of the process, they have to know leasing better, to have confidence on leasing. So manufacturing, banks, financial institutions, clients, SME, we have to make them understand in reality what's the industry that, in which we are working. And this is really important regards CRR3, because they make a confusion. Real estate leasing is not a speculative one, okay?
Yeah.
So it's very important to produce another type data analysis example, and I hope that if there regards that in concrete we have lower risk, and in concrete we finance a productive good, they can change their idea. And another thing that I want to underline is that I hope that if we win this game, in the future, we'll not see another problem like this one. It's not a game that finishes now and that can start another time. We have to win now because we have to win always.
Yeah.
They have to understand, they have to change their approach for this rule, for CRR3, and even in the future.
Yeah, once it's done, is forever, obviously. I think we have still time for a quick round of questions. I think a couple of minutes for each one. I would say an open question. It's a general question. So what is, in your view, the most important topics for the future of leasing over the next years? 2, 3 topics, or just one maybe, and why? So a couple of minutes for each one of you, starting from Richard.
Thanks for that. No, I think, I mean, let's be honest, we are in fairly uncertain geopolitical times at the moment, and we don't know really what the economic development is going to be. So probably the European economy needs leasing more than ever. And we have been an active engine for this transition as well of the European economy. But let's bear in mind that you know, whatever it is we do, it has to be realistic and it has to be achievable. And that relates to a whole bunch of different things, including reporting requirements, including Basel, including the new framework for artificial intelligence, how can it be used, the new data protection that will be reviewed. And my chief concern actually is that, I mean, yesterday there was the big discussion in the Parliament on the omnibus, on the due diligence directive and CSRD, and they couldn't agree. So there was a compromise between the Christian Democrats and the Socialists. In the end, it blew up again. So we're back to square zero. We find ourselves actually at the time when Europe needs leadership the most. We don't seem to have any. Apart from at council level, we seem to have the new Italian-German axis, but in the Parliament, there is no agreement on anything. So I think leasing has a great potential to grow further, but legislators actually need to work with us, not against us. And I think that is actually the key thing, not one file in particular, but this concept that, you know, it has to be supportive rather than counterproductive. That I would say is the key issue.
All right. Solenne, for you?
Yes, I'm optimistic because I think as we explained, we are at a crucial moment where I think that awareness of the benefits and the importance of leasing, financial leases, or real estate and so on, convince more and more our European authorities. I think we are in a very good path, in a good momentum, and so let's cross the fingers for what we saw on prudential treatment. Let's also be optimistic on the fundings and subsidies recognition, which is very important. So I think we are on a good path to unlock the potential of leasing as we give ourselves this motto at ASF.
And Enrico, for you?
So first of all, 2 words, speed and knowledge. In our market, if demand runs faster than us, we can meet only with price, and we continue to discuss about 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, no? Because they go in a way we don't understand. So speed to catch them and knowledge to understand the market. This is 1 point. The second point is that, I repeat, we have to change our approach. We don't have only a financial model. We have to participate at the innovation of the system, to be an industrial partner for our SME. And we have to promote a path for all the participants, the manufacturer, the lessee, and us. So we have to try to change our approach, because the future is now, it's yesterday, and we are not ready. But then I want to close with one assessment that I think a lot. Don't forget human relationship with entrepreneur that continue to be the difference. The confidence that our SME have on us, the direct contact, that is quite different to participate only with digital tools. We have to participate and to promote innovative green transformation. But the confidence, the change of knowledge that we have every day with our customer continue to make the difference.
I think it's a perfect conclusion, because if we go back to our customers, we are going exactly to the purpose of leasing companies, which is exactly to dialogue with customers, listen to their project, investment project, and provide appropriate solutions. So it's perfect to close this conversation talking about customers. I just want to thank once more Richard, Solenne, and Enrico to have joined this talk. And now we have a break time for half an hour, so we are going back to 12 o'clock for the last roundtable, which will be dedicated to the people of leasing, the young people of leasing.